You pull out a dirty, faded 1982 P quarter. The thing looks worthless, scratched, stained, worn to the bone. But what if I told you that this ugly little coin, this coin that looks like it's been in 10,000 pockets, this coin that most people would spend without a second thought? 1982 wasn't just another year in the world of U.S. coinage. It was one of the biggest transitional years in modern history. And this is how some 1982 P quarters became hidden treasures. The most valuable 1982 P era quarters ever found. Quarter struck on the wrong planchet. Extreme examples have crossed $30,000 to $60,000 plus in other years, meaning a dramatic 1982 P could realistically achieve the same point. 1982 P off-center errors, $200 to $4, 500 plus. Off-center strikes from 1982 are surprisingly visually dramatic. Double-struck / multi-struck 1982 P quarters, multi-struck coins, struck 3+ times, can reach $5,000 to $8,000. Broadstrike, $100 to $1,000. A broadstruck coin loses its ridged edge and expands outward. Clipped planchets, $100 to $2,000. The Blakesley effect, a weakening of the rim opposite the clip, increases value dramatically. Die caps, $2,000 to $25,000 plus. These occur when a struck coin sticks to the die and keeps striking more coins. Struck through errors, a fully struck through 1982 P could bring $1,000 to $4,000. Rotated die errors, $200 to $1,500. 1982 P double die obverse, DDO, and double die reverse, DDR, $200 to $7, 500 plus. Double dies from the early 80s are highly respected. These ultra-rare mint-era 1967 quarters are still showing up in pocket change, in old jars, and in random garage sales. People are finding them when they least expect it, and cashing in big. You're going through an old, dusty box in your attic. Maybe coins your grandfather left behind. Maybe a jar that's been sitting untouched for years. You pour the coins out onto the table, and among all the ordinary, dull change, one coin catches your eye. The history. To understand why some 1967 quarters are insanely valuable, you need to know what was happening in the United States during that time. In the mid-1960s, America faced a massive coin shortage. People were hoarding silver coins, businesses were struggling, and the mint couldn't keep up with demand. From 1965 to 1967, the U.S. Mint made a radical decision. 1967 silver quarter struck in error. A verified 1967 silver quarter error could easily sell for 6 figures, and experts say that a high-grade, nearly perfect example could break $500,000, or possibly even reach $1 million if the right collectors get involved. Double die obverse and reverse errors. High-grade double dies can sell for $20,000 to $30,000 plus. Off-center strike errors. A 50% off-center, full-date 1967 quarter can easily hit $5,000, $10,000. Double struck and multi-struck errors. Major double strike specimens have sold for $15,000 to $25,000. Wrong planchet errors. Rare foreign planchet strikes can exceed $40,000 plus die cap error. 1967 die caps are exceptionally rare and can command $20,000, $35,000 plus. How to check your old 1967 quarter? Start with the weight. Use a digital jewelry scale. 0.6.25 G equals silver, huge money. 5.67 G equals clad, normal. Check the edge. Silver equals no copper layer, clad equals copper core, visible. Examine lettering for doubling. Use a magnifier or macrophone camera. Check thickness. Coin struck on the wrong planchet will be too thin or too thick. Look for strange shapes. Die caps, double strikes, and broad strikes are visually dramatic. Compare the sound. Tap the coin lightly on another quarter. Silver rings. Clad does not. Famous 1967 quarter discoveries that shocked Horace. The garage sale. Discovery. A collector accidentally bought a 1967 quarter in a jar of cheap coins at a garage sale. Later found out it was a silver planchet error. Value? Over $15,000. The double strike find at a coin show. A 1967 multi-struck quarter. One of the most dramatic errors ever seen. sold for well over $20,000. The 1967 dime planchet quarter looked like a damaged coin. Turns out it was struck on a leftover dime blank that it sold for nearly $10,000. The 1967 quarter found in circulation in the 2020 size. People still find these. A man found a 1967 off-center strike worth over $2,500 in his change tray. Today, we're diving deep into the 1979 D-era quarter, a coin that many people overlook. But the smart collectors know the truth. Yes, one ordinary-looking quarter, the kind you'd ignore at the bottom of a drawer, could be hiding an error so rare that collectors fight over it like treasure hunters discovering gold. So stay with me until the end, because the last section of this video reveals an error type so rare, so explosive, that if you found it on a 1979 D quarter, it could be worth more than a house. The story behind the Denver Mint, marked with the D, produced more than 300 million quarters, but what collectors love isn't the massive production. It's the mistakes that slipped through unnoticed, and this is why the 1979 D quarter has become famous among error hunters, because while the regular coin is worth only 25 cents, the error versions can explode in value. The most valuable 1979 D errors, off-center strikes. A 70% off-center strike with full date could easily reach $2,000 plus today. Double strikes. Extreme examples have touched $5,000 or more depending on severity. Die caps. $3,000 to $25,000 plus. If a 1979 D quarter exists as a die cap, it would be a holy grail find, easily worth tens of thousands. Double die obverse or reverse. $150 to $5,000 plus. While not as common for 1979 D as other years, double dies do happen, struck through foreign material. $100 to $2,000 plus. T means something got in the way during rotated die errors. Potential value. $200 to $1,500 plus. If you flip the coin and the back doesn't line up perfectly with the front, this is a rotated die. The holy grail error to look for. A 1979 D quarter struck on a silver planchet, or a 1979 D quarter struck on a foreign gold-colored planchet. These errors are almost mythical, but wrong planchet errors do exist for modern coins. One single mistake can slip through that if you found one. Money bag easily $50,000, $250,000 at auction. Money bag may be more if it's dramatic and well-preserved. Yes, some 1965 quarters with specific mint errors have sold for life-changing amounts of money. And the crazy part? Many of these ultra-rare pieces are still sitting unnoticed in collections, change jars, estate sales, and even pocket changery digging through an old jar of coins. Dusty, forgotten, maybe buried in a drawer or tucked away in a box that hasn't seen daylight for decades. Your fingers skim through ordinary-looking quarters, until suddenly you hold one that feels different. The year reads 1965. It's worn, dirty, and looks like nothing special. The history. Before we jump into the rarest and most valuable errors, we need to understand why the year 1965 is so important, and why it produced some of the rarest error coins in modern U.S. history. In the early 1960s, the United States was running into a serious problem, a nationwide coin shortage. Silver prices were rising. People were hoarding coins, and the government couldn't keep up with demand. The situation was so dire that vending machines, payphones, and business transactions were being disrupted. 1965 double die errors. Well-preserved double die examples can sell for $5,000 to $25,000 plus, depending on the strength of the doubling. Off-center strike. A 1965 quarter struck 40% to 60% off-center with full date, showing can fetch huge premiums, sometimes $3,000 to $5,000 plus. Double strikes and multiple strikes. Major double strike errors with clear deformation can bring $2,500 to $10,000 plus. Broadstruck 1965 quarter rare high-grade broad strikes can reach over $1,500. Die cap error extremely rare for 1965. These coins can sell for $5,000 to $20,000 plus. Wrong planchet error depending on condition. These can bring $5,000 to $40,000 or more. How to check your 1965 quarter. Step-by-step way to use a small jewelry scale. Silver quarters weigh 6.25 g. Clad quarters weigh 5.67 g. If you see 6.25 g, you might have a six-figure treasure. Check the RM silver quarters. Rim is pure silver color. Clad quarters. Rim shows a copper stripe. Examine LE10 to look for doubling, stretching, or missing letters. Check center ringes the design perfectly centered. Any missing edges or shifted strikes. Look for anything USL thicker than normal, thinner than normal, strange metal tone, misaligned images, multiple outlines. Anything weird may be valuable. A famous 1965 era quarter S the silver planchet discovery, the first known 1965 silver era quarter sold for over $8,000. Then another surfaced. This one graded nearly uncirculated and sold for over $40,000. The multi-era 1965 quarter coin showing both an off-center strike and a double strike recently shocked the auction world by fetching over $10,000.1965 quarter found in circulation in 2023. Believe it or not, a 1965 silver quarter was discovered in circulation in the mid-2020s. Even after decades of wear, it sold for over $6,000. Some 1983 P quarter errors are so shocking, so unexpected, so unbelievably rare, that collectors compete for them like treasure hunters chasing legendary gold. Many of the most valuable 1983 P error quarters ever found were discovered in horrible condition, dirty, worn, or heavily circulated. Philadelphia was the busiest location. Millions of planchets were rushed. Dies were pushed far beyond their safe lifespan. Quality control struggled to keep up. And because the mint didn't make mint sets in 1983, many coins went straight into circulation, meaning the most valuable 1983 P error quarters. In other years, wrong planchet quarters have sold for more than $40,000, $60,000. Off-center strikes $300 to $4,000 plus. Double struck / multi-struck errors for $100 to $8,000 plus. A multi-struck 1983 P quarter struck 3+ times would be a monster-level error worth thousands. Broad-struck 1983 P quarters $150 to $1,000. The coin looks wider, flatter, and has a smooth edge. Clipped planchets $100 to $2,500. A double or triple clip from 1983 would be highly desirable. Die cap errors $3,000 to $25,000 plus. A die cap occurs when a coin sticks to the die and continues striking more blanks, forming struck-through errors $150 to $3,500. These happen when foreign material gets between the die and the planchet. Rotated die errors $200 to $1,500. If the reverse doesn't line up properly when the coin is flipped, this is a rotated die. Double dies $200 to $7,500 plus. A dramatic double die could command thousands. Why 1983 P errors can sell for huge money. NO mint sets were made in 1983. This makes high-quality coins rarer. It also means errors slipped into circulation unnoticed. Heavy mint production, high speed equals more mistakes. Point 3. Weak equipment and die wearers from 1983 are often more dramatic. High demand from collectors. The 1982 to 1983 era period is one of the hottest in modern numismatics. Let's dive into the thrilling world of the 1970 rare quarter that you're sorting through a handful of old, grimy change. Maybe it came from an old piggy bank, a forgotten jar in the garage, or a dusty box passed down through family. As the coins clink together, one quarter stands out, not because it's shiny, but because it's not. It's old, it's dirty, it looks practically worthless. You wipe the grime just enough to see the date. The history. The year 1970 was a turning point in U.S. coin production. The mint was transitioning, experimenting, and working through complicated changes in materials and production processes. And when things change at the mint, mistakes happen. Big ones. By 1970. The U.S. Mint was still dealing with the aftershocks of the coin shortages from 1964 to 1967, when people hoarded silver coins. Because of this, the mint pushed production hard during the late 1960s and early 1970s, Yet the most valuable, the 1970 quarter errors ever found. 1970 quarter struck. Collectors go wild over one-off errors like this. That a similar discovery today could easily surpass $200,000, and in a record-setting auction, it could break $500,000, maybe even $1,000,1970. Double die obverse errors. A strong double die can bring $20,000 to $30,000 plus, and high-grade examples are brutally rare. 1970 off-center strike errors. A 50% off-center 1970 quarter with a full date can easily reach $3,000 to $5,000.1970. Wrong planchet errors. Foreign planchet strikes are even rarer, often reaching $15,000, $40,000 plus. 1970 double-struck and multi-struck errors. Major multi-strike examples often surpass $10,000, $20,000. Broadstrike errors. Value: $100 to $1. 500 plus. While not as spectacular, rare 1970 broadstrikes still sell for four-figure amounts when well preserved. How to check your old 1970 quarter. Weigh the coin. Use a small jewelry scale. Standard clad weight: 5.67 grams. Silver planchet weight: 6.25 grams. Smaller/lighter, possibly struck on a dime planchet. Check the rim. Silver equals solid silver. Color clad equals visible copper band. Dime planchet equals thin reduced rim. Broadstrike equals stretched rim. Check for foreign coin details. If you see any faint outlines underneath the quarter design, you may have a foreign coin overstrike worth tens or hundreds of thousands. Famous 1970 quarter discoveries that shocked the coin. WRLD, the Canadian overstrike discovery. It sold for over $30,000 immediately, then resold for even higher, well over $100,000 at auction. IT proved that the mint was sloppy during 1970 and major errors slipped through. The 1970 dime planchet error. A circulated 1970 quarter struck on a dime blank, thin, dull, and dirty, sold for nearly $10,000, surprising even experts. To home jar discovery. A coin collector found a 1970 multi-strike quarter in a family coin jar. Auction price: $7,500. The 1970 double die found in a coin roll. A strong double die example found inside a simple quarter roll fetched over $15,000.